Easter's a really wild time there. They have this tradition where the girls have to have these painted eggs that they give to the boys. And if you're going super traditional, then the boys either like squirt them with water or like dump water on the girls. If you're going more modern, then you spray them with perfume. But the buckets of water is much more fun, and we experienced that a little bit. I'm not sure where that tradition came from. They also use a lot of poetry involved in that, so they'll say little poems to the girls before the girls give them eggs, and then the boys dump water on them.
So yeah, Easter. Those are actually probably come from pagan traditions, like pagan fertility rituals. This water thing, and I think it's pretty not that uncommon around this region of Europe. And well, in the city where I live and where I grew up, we know not perfume with cologne, sometimes very cheap ones. But yeah, so it's kind of varies, because there used to be a time where like boys, not the grown men, usually the grown men don't do this. Like I said in a previous video, in my video on Halloween in Hungary, most holidays are more for kids around here than adults. So what boys sometimes do, like they'll go around to women whom they know, like acquaintances, maybe even classmates, and because Easter Monday, this is done on Easter Monday, and Easter Monday is a public holiday in Hungary. So they'll get these colognes, which are for like Easter sprinkler colognes. Usually they're horrible, and they'll go to your home and like spray you with it, and they're supposed to actually first say a little poem. We have several poetry for Easter, and then they spray you with it. And there used to be a time when like in the 90s, it was more common to give some money. So, but nowadays we're more going back, and we'll give a cookie or a chocolate egg or a painted egg if you're going very, very traditional. I haven't painted an egg since I was a child, but yeah. And also in some places they have these beautiful like red and white eggs, and also there's this thing where they like very artsy people, they'll put on the egg like little horseshoes. They're really really amazing. And yeah, that's and in villages sometimes it does happen that they'll like dunk a whole like bucket full of water on you. It's so great fun, and but only in good weather. No one wants to catch a cold. And yeah, it's and then girls will run away screaming and all that. It's a fertility tradition to make you fertile, and also it's to make you beautiful, like keep you young and beautiful. That's why I look like this, probably. Well, Hungarian women are known for their beauty, so maybe it works.
Hungarians do really cool whip tricks. They have, that's like an interesting thing they do, is they tame animals with these crazy whips and stuff, and so you get to see those and buy those. I have a whip, learned how to whip in Hungary. That's always fun.
Okay, the whip thing, that's more for tourists nowadays. There did used to be like this tradition that they would do like whip tricks and stuff like that. Like, Hungary has a lot of animal husbandry and a lot of fields. It's a very fertile land, so we have lots of animals. And it used to be that the guys who were like out and minding animals and stuff like that, they do have dogs, but they would also use these really long whips to like regulate the animals, to herd them and stuff like that. And of course, when the animals were grazing, they were probably bored because there was no mobile phones and stuff. So they would like make up these tricks with the whips. But that's not really a thing anymore. No one really does that. It's something that people will either do from like performance purposes. It's like a performance, or as sort of like a tradition keeping effort. But yeah, when you see that's mostly for just like spectators, for tourists, so for Americans. Yeah, it's like I bet there's every country that will have like these little old bits of tradition that no one really does now, but for the tourists, you just do it for to get a little of that tourist money.
There are thermal bath houses that you have to go to. There's going to be a lot of old men in Speedos. There's going to be a lot of like little kids just running around naked because that's how they do it in Hungary.
So thermal baths, yeah, we have a lot because Hungary, actually there used to be a lot of volcanic action here, but it's like way, 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 way back, like prehistoric times. And so we have a lot of thermal water. Actually, where I live in Szeged, we do have the special water as well. Some thermal baths, the really ornate ones, they're more for tourists and rich people because we can't really afford it. Some baths are, yeah, you can, regular people go to as well. There's a very beautiful new one in Mako, which resembles an onion because, well, actually not an onion. It's more like garlic, kind of garlic onion. Kind of a mix. Because it could be seen as cloves of garlic from some aspect, but some aspects are also like the folds of an onion. Yeah, you pick. But yeah, that's a new one that's very good. But yeah, thermal baths are part, and also when you're older or when you have like an illness, you can get a note from a doctor, and you'll maybe get a discount. It's kind of a thing in my city actually now that there have been a problem with this. But yeah, normally you can get like a discount for a doctor's note or something like that. So that makes it more affordable. But yeah, because in Hungary, most like it's very very rare that you have a swimming pool. So these public baths, they'll usually have a thermal bath part, and they'll also have a part for like normal swimming, which is in thermal water, because thermal water is about 35 degrees Celsius, or between 30 and 35. It's very hot, and people under like, I think 12, 14 aren't supposed to go into it. Some people will let their kids in, but often either an overseer person or the people in the bath will tell them that get your kid out of there. It's not healthy for them because there are a lot of minerals in there. It's very hot. It's not advised for a growing person, but when you're older, it's very good. And also, it's not advised for you to sit in there more than like half an hour, because it's so hot that it can like really tax your system and your heart. So also when you go out, you're not supposed to just like go out. You're supposed to like slowly ease yourself out of it. You don't swim in it, you just sit in it and usually chat or something like that. Or in some places they have chess tables and people play chess or read a magazine or read a newspaper or something like that, or book. And then you're supposed to slowly leave it, because your body, it has to get used to from the hotter temperature to the lower temperature, because normally outside it's a lower temperature. You can even sometimes go to these open air baths in like winter time in some places. Budapest has several very famous thermal baths, and I've actually never been to the one because they're really expensive. And yeah, maybe with a Budapest residency card, but even when I lived there, I didn't have a Budapest residency, which is crazy. It's a Hungarian thing.
I was in Nyíregyháza, so it's up north, super cold, and we had been outside for hours, like probably 5 hours, and it was a blizzard, okay? Freezing, snowing, my boots were wet. I was wearing 3 pairs of tights, 2 pairs of socks, but they were completely soaked through, and my feet were so cold. And so I like told my companion, like, hey, maybe we should go home. My feet are kind of hurting, and they were hurting more than usual. And when we got home, I took off all of my socks and my tights, and my toes were black. And I was so scared because I thought that I had frostbite. So I went to a hospital, and it turns out that I had frostbite on 3 of my toes from standing in this winter blizzard in Hungary for hours. So it took a couple of months for me to be able to recover from that.
Okay, I'm not really sure what this has anything to do with Hungary. Like, don't stand out in a blizzard. Yeah, we have 4 seasons. We have winter, which is cold. We have spring, which is more often cold than warm. We have summer, which can get really hot. And we have autumn, which is like one day it's cold, the next day it's warm, the next day it's cold, the next day it's warm. And in the morning it's usually it's cold, and then it warms up for the afternoon, and then in the evening it's really cold again. And it's like you can have like 10-15 degrees differences in a day during autumn, which we have right now. And so yeah, winters can get really cold. So if you come in the winter, bring your winter clothes, but it can also get warm. So it can be anywhere between 15 degrees Celsius to minus 20. Like a couple of years ago, we had actually weeks when it was minus 20, which isn't normal actually. Usually winters are about 0 to 5, somewhere around there. But yeah, it can get very cold, very cold. So don't stand outside in a blizzard. Like why they just? We never got why she was outside for so long. Yeah, weird. Okay.
They usually have 1 to 2 children, and they'll often give them the name of the parent. So you'll have a Mary and then a baby Mary, or a John and a baby John, or a Michael, Mihai, and a baby Mishi. And so that was kind of cool. Hungary actually used to have a rule that you had to name your children from a list of names, that you couldn't deviate from that list. And so because of that, there's a lot of the same common names.
So yeah, we don't have a lot of children. The government has actually been making an effort to increase the number of children to 3. You get all sorts of like I think you don't have to pay taxes as a woman if you've had 3 kids, or maybe just very little. But the more kids you have, the less taxes you have to pay. You also the more holidays you have. And also there's all sorts of things that you'll get some money for car, for living arrangements, and for like apartments or house, depending. And also there's a government subsidy that you also get per child. And so yeah, they are trying, but still most people have 1 or 2 kids. Because it's very expensive, and even though elementary school and high school are completely free, you even have like for elementary school you have a school book program, but I've heard that a lot of teachers will have you buy extra books. And also there are school lunch programs, school breakfast programs, so all sorts of stuff to help people with children. because Hungary is an aging population, and it's also decreasing population, partly because of immigration and also because people aren't having so many children, because it's difficult, and usually it's completely normal that both parents work. It's like what isn't normal is that both parents, like one parent doesn't work. That's very uncommon. Like when I was growing up, all of my friends had two working parents, and I grew up with my mom. She's a single mom, and she was working until like 6, 7 in the evening. We called them key kids. I would have a key, and I would come home when I was 7 and be on my own until my mom came home, and that was completely normal. You would usually have like food. Like there's also a program that until like the end of elementary school, you have like afternoon, not classes, but sort of an afternoon daycare in the school. We only had that until 4th grade, but it wasn't compulsory. And the teacher who was doing that in my first elementary school, because I went to 2, because the first one wasn't a very good one. So in my first one, the teacher was a really horrible, very old school kind of person, and she would punish us, like not beat us. She would make us like stand like this for hours and hours and hours, and sometimes the whole afternoon. You couldn't do anything, and you just had to. You couldn't drink water. You couldn't do. You couldn't eat. You couldn't do anything. Just stand right next to her desk the whole time, the whole afternoon after lunch, not moving. You weren't supposed to move for like 4 hours. And she was very, very strict and pretty horrible to us. And she actually got an award for great teacher skills. Yeah. But she loved the school, luckily. Yay. And but in my next elementary school, in grade 3 and 4, we had a very nice person. Her name was Izuka, which is the same name as mine. It's a nickname for Isabel. And she was really nice, and we would have lunch, and then we would stay in school, like do our homework, and we would have time to run around outside in like the courtyard of the school. There wasn't anything on the courtyard. Maybe you could get a ball or something, but there wasn't anything there. But sometimes we would go to a nearby like public playground. But yeah, and mostly it was for doing homework and for not being alone. But yeah, when I was 7, I would go home and spend time home alone, or maybe go to my grandma if I could, because my grandma lived near. But from 5th grade, it was like you were finished with school around 1 or 2 p.m. and then you were on your own. You did whatever. And some places would offer lunch for kids, and but mostly by that time we had a microwave oven, so my mom would like make food and I would microwave it, or I could do simple dishes by then, and I would cook for myself, do my homework alone, or maybe sometimes with my friends we would go to library and do our homework there. But yeah, it was a lot of time just spent on my own and taking care of myself, which was actually not a bad thing, because when I grew up and I moved out, it was really easy because I've been doing that since I was like 10, so no biggie. Oh, and the names things, yeah, that was she was also talking about the names. Yeah, it used to be tradition that the firstborn boy would get the name of the father, and the firstborn girl would get the name of the daughter, of the mother. Daughter, yeah, the daughter would get the name of the mother. And actually, in my family, my grandmother was Iboya, and her first daughter was also Iboya. She wasn't my mom. Yeah, if they would have had a son, he would have been István. Yeah. or maybe not, because István was actually my father's second, well, you call it the middle name, but in Hungary the name order is different, because you first get the family name, then you get like the Christian name, we call it the Christian name, and then you get the second Christian name. So that's the order. And yeah, we still have the list. There's still like an official list of names. It's pretty long, actually. I think something like 800 names per gender, and there are names that can be either gender. But yeah, there's still this official list, and if you want to deviate from that list, then you have to get a special order from like a court or something. I'm not exactly sure, but there's a whole procedure that you have to go through if you want to take a name that isn't on that list. But it's partly because it's partly so that you can understand each other, and also like you have to understand that most people who have kids in Hungary are Hungarians, so they all name their kids Hungarian names. Like yeah, and Isabel is not completely. It's actually an international name, but it is accepted in Hungary. But there's only one spelling.
But at the same time, they also have a name day. So just as big as your birthday is this name day celebration, where all throughout the year, you have a specific day that celebrates your name. So, for example, Michael would have a day throughout the year that you'd celebrate your name and getting it. And that's something that a lot of the Hungarians like. They have greeting cards that focus on name days. Sometimes they'll throw a little party. I was really excited because my name actually was on the name day list, or the name list. So I have a name day too, which is cool.
Name days, yeah, that is a thing. My name day is July 12th, so if you want to, you can wish me happy name day. And name day actually originates, so these were the days of saints. And so Saint Isabel's Day is July 12th in Hungary. And so it used to be like a celebration of your saint, because the name you have, your guardian saint is the saint who had the same name. So my guardian saint would be, if I was religious, would be Saint Isabel, who was actually a French princess. So it's kind of cool. I actually once read about her. I was like, oh, I have to know about Saint Isabel, don't I? So yeah, she was a French princess who went into a convent and became a nun, and she actually became the leader of a convent, and she like founded this whole, like reformed the whole order of nuns. So she was a pretty cool person. I'm like yeah, go Isabel. Yay. So yeah, name days. So they're a thing here. We do celebrate it. It's not as big as a birthday. Like for birthday, you'll have a bigger gift. You'll usually have a party. You may have a party for name day or not. Sometimes just with family, sometimes with friends. It depends on how much you like to celebrate it. It could be just a family thing. You mostly don't get big gifts for it. You usually get, like, it's very customary to get a bouquet of flowers and some chocolate. I'm actually not a big fan of flowers, like living flowers. These are fake. Actually, my favorite flower used to be a pink tulip or a pink rose. So I would usually get that, and yeah, and chocolate. So it's not you don't get huge gifts for it. It's like a minor birthday thing.
The longest word in Hungarian, because you can make a noun into a verb and a verb into a noun, and then tack on things and then make that into a verb, and so on and so forth. Words can get really long. I don't really use this word because the context just has to be right. But the longest word that I know in Hungarian is megszentségteleni tetetlenséges kedéséitekért, which is pretty crazy, but it means for all of your sanctifiableness, which would be kind of hard to use in a conversation, but it's technically a word.
Hungarian is one of the hardest, like top 10 hardest languages in the world. And if I wasn't a native speaker, I would never learn it. And I'm learning Turkish, which is actually has a lot of things in common with Hungarian. So I'm like a masochist. Yeah, I probably am. The thing about Hungarian is it's one of those languages where you can have suffixes and prefixes attached to, well, both can be attached to verbs. To nouns, you can only have suffixes. You can't, well, can you? No. You have to think about it because this is like your native tongue. You just don't think about it. Can I attach prefixes to nouns? No. But you do have also compound words like, one of my favorite is repülőgép anyahajó, which is, what is that thing called in English? Of course, I can't think of it now. Aircraft carrier, those big ships, you know. It's like, so yeah, that's a compound word. And megszentségteleníthetetlenségeskedéseitekért. Yeah, he was correct in what that means. And yeah, it has meg is a prefix. Cent is like, it can be a noun or an adjective, and then the whole rest of it is all the suffixes, because you can pile on more suffixes. Like in Turkish, they actually don't have prefixes, but they also have, they can also pile on suffixes to words. So that's very same. And they also have this, that verbs can be nouns and things like that, and they sound the same, or adjectives. So yeah, that's the thing. But in Hungarian, actually, you don't have gender. So this whole pronoun debate in English just doesn't exist in Hungarian, because you have one pronoun for third person singular, which is ő, and that's it. That's for the vase. Well, actually, the vase would be like you wouldn't say but like as, which actually means this, but you wouldn't say but for like I'm an guy, like this guy who was speaking, he's an everyone's an and so yeah, there's no nouns don't have gender, like in Italian or Spanish or German or French or Portuguese or Russian. They also have genders for nouns. English, not so much, not anymore at least. Turkish also doesn't have gender for nouns. Also, they also have one third person singular. I've learned a lot of languages. Also, Japanese is a whole different ball game.
One of their big industries is sunflower oil, and so there will just be fields and fields of sunflowers as far as you can see. They eat a lot of poppy seed and export it as well, and so you'll see fields of red poppies.
Okay, yeah, we do have a lot of crops, because like I said, Hungary is very agricultural. We have a lot of arable land. We have, you see, I learned geography in English. And also we have very fertile lands. We also used to be called when we were still Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and when we were part of the Habsburg Empire, we were like the food source of the whole empire, because we have such great land here for agriculture. And so one of our main crops is sunflower, and we do produce a lot of sunflower oil, and we also eat a lot of sunflower seeds. And we do eat a lot of pumpkin seeds. That's also very, very popular snack. It's also very cheap. Yeah, and we do have a lot of poppy seeds, but we also have poppies. Poppy seeds are, we don't eat it like raw, but we have a lot of dishes that use poppy seeds. There's no opium in it. It's like sometimes Americans will go like, or like other nations even go like, you're eating poppy seeds? Like what's poppy seeds? Like you're eating drug? No, it doesn't have any opium in it. You can like mix it with pasta and some sugar, or put it into all sorts of desserts. You eat poppy seeds in mostly sweet things. They're in desserty things. Yeah, and also the pasta. We eat sweet pastas as well for lunch. That's like main dish. So yeah. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos, and maybe more videos like this if it becomes popular. I would really like to become popular. Thanks for watching. Bye.